Hello, my name's Fox Knight. So I'm to Fox. I just finished The Umbrella Academy Season 3, so spoilers. I will say the ending stinger, though, it is like, oh, wow. I don't think it was as good as Season 2's final ending, where it's like, oh, shit. Time travel just messed up and created a whole new set. Although, I don't know if I did a review of the last season, but if I did, hopefully, I think I kind of called a little bit of like what was gonna happen, because like their dad basically straight says, "Oh yeah, I saw how shitty you guys were back in like the whenever the hell it was 60s. So I picked 7 other children, or was it 6 other? I can't remember. I got like 7 other children, and also out of those 7, like one of them was one of the ones I did pick. It's just that he was dead. So that was that. I was like, all right, I got that. But this season was pretty fun. Although I will say, like the Sparrow Academy, like there's a few things. One, like Luther's love with Sloane, it just kind of felt like almost kind of out of nowhere. I was just kind of like, I'm not out of nowhere, but it was just like, I was like, I don't know. This feels a little too rushed. But then again, like the whole season's like, oh yes, the world's about to end. So we got to kind of speed things along, I guess. But there's that. There's the whole bit with like God, quote unquote, the Kugelplex, which is basically the world about to end itself because because of the grandfather paradox, which now just causes kind of more questions on how that exactly works. Because spoilers for this show, I did like this season, so I definitely go watch it. This is my recommendation. You think like, oh, should I go see it? Yeah, go see it. Go see it. It's on Netflix. Whole season, which is really great. Be able to binge watch something again after, though I do love like Mando and all this stuff. It is like, oh god, I gotta wait for next week. And this is just like binge the shit out of it. These guys, like, I love the Sparrow Academy had some unique powers, to say the least. Like Christopher is the most unique one, where I'm just wondering, was he born a cube? And then you have one of them where they're able to summon ravens from their back, but then also see through those ravens' eyes, which I was like, okay. I had like that was one of my favorite abilities. I kind of in BioShock Infinite, so all right, you made a character that kind of has that power. There's one guy who's like his face is all messed up and ugly, but his powers are that whatever pain you inflict on him is inflicted back to you instead, but also it sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work. It's physical, but then not physical. That his powers are weird, because I'm just like, shouldn't he be feeling like, shouldn't the people punching him right now be feeling that pain, or did you guys kind of just not like, I feel like they forgot what that guy's power was, or they couldn't really think about how to defeat that power, so they kind of just went like back and forth. Because like there's bits where I'm like, okay, he's punches him, pain comes back, hits. Allison gets a bloody nose. Okay, but then like when it's like when a kid throws a knife, cuts the guy's leg, and then the kid gets a cut. And it's like, I'm like, okay, so it's not just like physical thing, like it travels through the body back, like physical hits. It's long range hits too. I'm like, okay. Their strongman, which I guess that was just his power, that he was just strong, dies almost immediately. So I'm just like, okay. I think that, like, my running theory was, because we find out later on, so spoilers, because there's some pretty good twists. Are like, what? Like, things like the twist that like their mothers all died. I'm like, okay, does that mean like whatever, like particles or whatever that gives them their powers, kind of like instead of winning to those mothers, went to other kids and went to other like bodies, and like that's other mothers, and like maybe those powers were activated in that, or the Sparrow Academy really just the same quote unquote people as the Umbrella Academy, just new bodies. different bodies, like born from different mothers. But I guess now, because at the end there's kind of like a spoilers, major spoilers. There's like a total reset. So I guess that really like the Sparrow Academy is just setting up that we're gonna see these characters later on. Also, I feel like the Christopher character would kind of stand out in the original timeline. But whatever. But yeah, that was weird. But like, it is kind of cool because it does play with your things a lot. Like the Sparrow Academy obviously looks kind of evil, and like the Sparrow Academy seems kind of evil. Like when we find out like they're drugging their dad, and it's like, yeah, their dad's an asshole, but like, yeah, I don't know. It's something about like, you know, a defenseless old person. I'm just like, especially like doping them up, and like, I don't like that. Especially because they treat them like ass too, which I'm just like, I don't think you should treat horrible with horrible, but whatever. But yeah, like I was just like, okay. But then also, I will say again, like towards the end, especially if you've seen the show, you're just kind of like, yeah, I kind of hate this, I kind of hate this old man. I hate this old man a lot. And also, there's slow reveals going on with like the Sir Hargreaves' like actual backstory, where we find out Luther was on the moon. Turns out not only because I forgot, I think they say like he's embarrassed of his failure or some shit like that. Something like that. But then it's actually because I guess Hargreaves' wife is in suspended animation up on the moon for a reason. But she's also now in this new timeline. Perfectly fine. Allison reset the timeline. And now, let me talk about the actual season first. It is very much like, maybe it's because of COVID, or maybe it's just because like this was the plan for it. Like the most major parts in this place are either at the Umbrella Academy's like house or the Sparrow Academy now, and Hotel Obsidian, which is cool. Like they make the hotel feel like a place, and I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure it was very low budget to make this one because a lot of time like the quote unquote floor plan for I think all the floors of the hotel were the same almost. So you know they just have the same hallway, just switched. I'm pretty sure they had the same hallway set, but they just reset but they reset they switched out like, okay, floor 6, floor 9, and something like that. But it was pretty cool, and like there are some like really like cool things in this, like especially obviously like at the beginning it slowly kind of builds up to the end of the world. They didn't do like Heroes where it's like every season start off with time traveler goes to the future. Oh shit, the future's messed up, come back in time, which they did for like the last 2 seasons. This one, you're like, no, time is just completely folding in on itself. There's no time travel really that can be done, or there is, but you know, with 5 in them. I'm trying to think. Like, one character is told not to save the planet, and you're like, okay. There's some bits where it's like, where Allison is like, okay, I want to go home. Like, I want to go back to the past and live with my husband there, because her wife is in the future, which is her daughter is in the future, which also, and then also, Victor, who is, you know, number 7, formerly Vanya, now Victor. I don't want a dead name, but, you know, Victor, which it's pretty cool that they made him trans because the actor is trans. So that was actually kind of cool seeing that. I was like, okay. Like, because I know even, like, some people say, like, can he even play Vanya now if... Sorry, dead name. Can he even play a female character now? And they changed, like, no. Like, just make the character trans. And like, all right, that works, honestly. And it adds more, like, rep for people, so I'm all right with that. But, yeah. And I also do love, like, how the whole entire family, like, just straight accepts him, like, immediately. Just like, I'm Victor now. I'm a guy. And they're like, all right. I like that. I even like Luther. Like, there's a really touching scene with Luther where Luther and Diego, where Luther goes, should we throw him like a party or something? And like to make him feel loved. And then Diego sees Luther, or, God damn it, Victor come in, and Diego just goes, Luther wants to throw you a party to show that you're loved. Do you feel loved? Victor is just like, yeah, I feel loved. He's like, all right. And just leaves. I'm just like, all right, that's kind of cute. I love that a lot. But let me see. There are some cool things too, like 5 basically saying he's out of the business until obviously when he finds out the whole entire world's going to end. But I do like what he said because, like, also I'm so confused. Like, there's some things in this where I guess you could just say it's because of the alternate timeline being changed. Like, modern technology seems to be gone. Like, there's no smartphones in this universe. There's no... I feel like there were in the original ones, maybe. Like, there's no smartphones in the universe. There's still payphones. TVs are like old-fashioned TV. Actually, I think there might... No, like old-fashioned TVs, I think, still. Like the big boxy ones. I was kind of confused. I was like, or maybe that was just kind of link up that, like, Hargreaves owned the hotel, too. Because the hotel was the one that really felt old-fashioned. But no, I don't know. It felt weird. Oh, no, because then even Luther at one point was making a mixtape. Like a cassette mixtape. Like, this was the 90s. So I guess that could use, say, time travel. But I do like... But it is... Like, they say, like, oh, yeah, we changed the timeline. We don't exist in this timeline. Like, they hear that. Or they at least go running off the theory that they were never made the Umbrella Academy. So they were never brought from, different parts of the world to the city or whatever. So I was just confused when they were saying, like, when Allison goes, I need to go see my daughter. I'm just like, your daughter doesn't exist, and you should know that from basic understanding of time travel. Like, I don't know. That, like, you maybe denial, but I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like you should know that. And then you have, I don't know, what was the other one? No, it wasn't Vine. It was like, there's a few other times where there's like, I should exist. And like, these people should exist. Like, no, because that never happened. You should know this, like, immediately. I also do love how there's an entire point where, like, they leave the suitcase that time travels at the Sparrow Academy on accident. And then basically Five and Layla, they eventually get the suitcase back and don't tell anyone and basically go trying to get back to the commission, teleport there. And while everyone's like, we need to get the suitcase back. And I'm just like, man, this family really needs to talk more because, God, how easy it would have been like, hey, guess what? We have the case. It doesn't work. And how much of this would have been resolved, but no. There's another bit that I called to in the last season where, like, spoilers, the kid from last season who was born in the 60s or whatever would appear again as an old man in the newer current season. And I'm like, okay, I kind of guessed that was going to happen. I didn't guess what he kind of accidentally did, but I was like, okay. There's some touching moments with Klaus and their dad, but then kind of immediately get undermined at the end. It's like, oh, well, shit. But the season was good. Then there's like the whole, then there's like a kind of, there's always a thing, at least for me, with like the idea of the afterlife and powers, where it's like, either you're saying, yes, your powers are connect you to, spiritual realm, magic, whatever, and that makes the powers magical, or they're biological. They're biological, and then, like, you can't do that, I guess. I don't know. It's so weird, because Klaus's power is, like, he can go to the void and all this stuff, and it turns out it's these particle things. So are we saying the afterlife is science? Or are we saying that Klaus's powers are magic? Or they're not tied to science? Or are they tied to science? It's a weird kind of mix. It's like, like everyone else's powers I can kind of get. But it's like, if your powers are connected to, like, the dead and, like, the living stuff, like, are we saying there's, like, I guess you could go with the science, right? Like, oh yeah, like death and everything else is just a transcended form of our mortal coil or some shit like that. I don't know. Something like that. I guess you could kind of pull like that, but I feel like it's more kind of like magic. I don't know. It's weird. That was a bit where I'm like, So, like, towards the end, where his big twist at the end is, they, like, basically first off, they have to go into, like, a mirrorverse of the hotel, that their dad found the gateway and then built a hotel around it so he could enter into it. And the whole idea is that you need 7 warriors or 7 people to go in because of this weird ass sigil. 7 warriors to go in, and basically there's legends, myth, whatever, that 7 warriors have to go in to find the 7 bells, and this will save the universe from apocalypse, supposedly. 5 also had to get through this, figuring it out when he had to meet his future self, but not his future self unless the timeline is going to realign back to how it originally was. Because there's a bit where he, I actually do like the, how it's hinted at where 5 and Layla are explaining the commission, which is completely empty and destroyed. They're trying to find the commission. Also, apparently the commission is outside of time. I didn't know that. I thought it literally said it was 1958, whatever. But they're outside of time. He's looking for, they're looking for, anyone in the commission, and figure out why their time travel box ain't working. Time travels to find, they go around and he starts having the burps and farts and sweats and all that stuff. It's because there's a alternate timeline version of him somewhere around there. And eventually he does find him, and it turns out that he is the founder of the commission. So 5 created the commission that he was then recruited to work at the commission. That alone, I'm pretty sure, is a grandfather paradox, but whatever. But then, all things kind of lined up to, that, old 5's had an arm missing. He had a tattoo on his chest. Actually, I think the entire season is a grandfather paradox, now I'm thinking about it. Well, it is. But I mean, in more sense of than just how are these guys alive and stuff? Because old 5's would never exist if. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a massive grandfather paradox with how the commission is made. There's a grand thing with 5 got the tattoo. 5 got the tattoo. That tattoo that old 5's had because he saw his older self have it. So then where did his older self learn about it? And it basically kind of goes into an infinite, it kind of, spins around, which for me, how I always see that kind of paradox, it's the paradox of even Legend of Zelda, is it Majora's Mask? No, Ocarina of Time kind of had that similar paradox where it's here's an ancient jar from my people, take it. And then you take it and then you go back to the past and give that to the ancestor, and it kind of just it's where did that jar come from? It's that paradox. But the way I see it, it just means that these are alternate timelines, and that each timeline kind of, instead of it being a circle that constantly is looping, Grandfather Peg is actually kind of different, actually. I don't think about it, but that pot would always be looping around, but it's where did it ever start from? Until I say you pull it apart, where you're kind of looking at this timeline as a 2D image, and you'd be looking at it as a 3D image, where instead of it being a circle, it's actually a spiral, where this is one timeline, this is another timeline, and it spirals into the next timeline, and so on. Mind you, this then means each of these new timelines obviously is changed from what this timeline would be, and this timeline will forever stay the same. So there is one timeline where everything goes to shit, and it always stays that way, and nothing ever changes. You very much just change the timeline of another timeline, which you can then technically move forward in that timeline, which then technically the future has been changed from your perspective, but really you just left your old timeline behind and went to that timeline, and the view in this timeline that you moved forward into went into another timeline and moved forward in that, and so on and so forth until the infinite spiral. Because honestly, moving forward in time, I think, is easier than going backwards in time. Because Captain America technically time traveled when he froze himself. But beside the point. Where was I getting at with that? But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a grandfather. That's a paradox. There's a bunch of different paradoxes in this. There's the whole thing with Diego and his son, which the reveal on that is actually really funny, and it's but that was done really well. Even the bondings, I'm all right, that's kind of cute. Again, the Luther story is kind of and also I feel they're we can't have Luther in his sister being together, which I'm like, yeah, because I'm saying it out loud, and I'm like, yeah, sounds weird, but also in that same point, you already kind of went in on that, like, and it's just like now it seems like all love or whatever is kind of just gone, and I'm just like, okay, I'm like, I was just kind of like, all right, I guess. I'm like, I feel like there should still be some lingering feelings. You're already committed to it, but Klaus did say it right. He's like, aren't you guys like brother and sister? Like, well, technically, I was like, well, if you ever need to say technically, you're in the wrong or something. I'm like, yeah. But yeah, like I'm like, I feel like there should have been more tension there, I guess. I don't know. But it feels like, oh, yep, I completely forgot about that love. I'm just, okay. But, that's funny though, because it's like, I completely forgot about that love, with my sister, to then get with kind of my other sister. And I'm just like, I'm confused. Whatever. It's just like, really? I'm like, okay, whatever. Luther, like, staying in the family. Oh, God. Anyways. Yeah, there's that. Let's see, there's Diego timeline, Klaus trying to find his mother, which eventually leads into Five's whole thing. The stuff, and like I thought how it was gonna end was they're gonna somehow fix a timeline or something where they or Five and them will travel back in time, and Victor will stay in the past with Sissy and their son, and that Harlan, and that that'll fix one of the paradox. That'll fix one of the paradoxes, and then Allison will also go back to the past and live with her husband and stay there. But no, that's not how it happens. Actually, they have to go into this other world thing, which is really cool. It kind of gives you like almost Silent Hill, like Labyrinth, Minotaur kind of vibes, because they have to. There's like I think 5 or 6 guardians. I can't remember that appeared, and they all died. Like they have to kill them all. They have to kill them all and like find the 7 bells or reset the universe, which they do. And it turns out that the dad was actually raising them to be just batteries for this interdimensional machine, and basically in the end, Allison had to reset the universe, and she remade it so that way she could have her daughter back from the current timeline. She could have her daughter back, but then also have her husband from when she was stuck in the 1960s, and then also, like everyone else's powers are gone. Hargreave has apparently kind of taken over the world. It's a big conglomerate now, or a bigger conglomerate now, and his wife is alive or awakened or whatever, and yeah, and that was that. And I was like, okay, all right. I'm like, I guess that's that. I'm like, and then like at the ending, the ending, it's like everyone, including Ben, because Ben, the new Ben, which is the Sparrow Ben, I do like his kind of story too, where like he towards the end, where like they have like a whole wedding for Sloane and Luther, where Victor, where he's like, there's only 10 people alive anymore, like towards the end, because people are just disappearing because of the Kugelblitz, and like there's only people alive anymore, and like I'm like, they didn't even invite me to the thing. It's like, why do you guys like your Ben more than me? Like I'm just like, that's kind of funny. I'm just like, and like towards the end, like he kind of gets redeemed, but then at the end he's kind of an asshole again, and then again, like there's also there's messed up things where like, if Five as an old man with an arm missing and a tattoo on his chest lives to be 100 years old and create the commission stuff like that, but now timeline gets reset, because they do reset the timeline, like I said multiple damn times throughout this video. Does that then mean that timeline never happened? Does it? Or does this mean like the timeline will be reset back to the last one? Or whatever? But yeah, but I will say though, like again, like there's like one really big hero thing I think like 5 says at the very beginning, where like everyone's like, we have to do this, and it's like, why? we saved the universe. The world is bigger than us. We saved the entire universe. Just let it go. We stopped the apocalypse. Let it go. And I'm just like, that's actually kind of like really like it's not about us. I'm like, that is kind of like extremely heroic and self-sacrificing. It's like the idea of like, yeah, it's shit like what we got, but hey, we saved the world and like the world doesn't revolve around us. Just relax. And I'm like, I also understand, don't like, some terrible, like, like things with like Alice and stuff, but it's just like, yeah, but I'll say in that same sense, like, yeah, but yeah, the season was great. The season was good. Again, I'm pretty sure there's a few paradoxes and stuff like that. There's probably some plot hole. There's a few plot holes. But also like, I'm trying to think, like, apparently Victor, assuming he can do the same thing that Harlan did, can increase someone's powers. So maybe we'll see something like that for them to get their powers out. Because at the very end, when the time resets, everyone doesn't have their powers, supposedly. We don't know about Allison, but everyone doesn't have their powers. And I guess maybe, I don't know. I have no idea. Everyone doesn't have their powers. And Allison at least knows that Hargreave is an alien. But, yeah. And the funny thing is, like, a lot of the stuff that I told you, like, there's still a shit ton more twists in this season. Or it's like, okay, wow. Or it's like, okay. And it's like, okay, that's in character. But, yeah. It was great. This episode was fun. This show was fun. I'm going to go watch Monkey Kid now and do a review on that, hopefully. But thanks for watching True Videos, and also the Ghost of Molly Mickey. But thanks for watching True Videos. I've done links are on my face, because you know that it's around there somewhere. But check out my videos. Hopefully enjoy this, and we will. See you later. I should exist. And, like, these people should exist. Like, no, because that never happened.